Hello friends, welcome back to my channel Finance Unpacked with SB. You must have read in the newspaper that the oil has fallen below $60 per barrel in the international commodities market. Does that mean that you are going to pay less for your petrol now? We'll discuss that in a while, but don't keep your hopes high. Let us first try to understand what causes this decline in the fuel prices. Well, number one is increased supply. You see, US has flooded the market with the oil. Now, there's so much supply in the market that the prices have taken a hit. Number two, weakening demand. You see, there is an impending fear and a major consensus that going forward there will be a major global slowdown or a recession. Banks like JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, they predict there is a high probability of almost 65 to 70% that US will move into recession either late 2025 or early 2026. Now, if US is into recession, no other country can be spared. We all will get impacted. What does recession do? It creates a condition where there is less money in the pockets of the people. Less money means less demand for commodities. Less demand means that the factories will be producing less. Less factory production means less demand for the oil, and hence the fear. Therefore, the prices are declining. Number three, the policies of the OPEC countries. What are OPEC countries? OPEC countries are a cartel of 12 countries including Russia, Saudi Arabia and UAE and certain African nations. Why do I say cartel and not group of countries? I say cartels because these countries, these OPEC countries together sit on a table and decide that okay, this year we are going to produce this much of oil and we are going to sell at this much rate. They decided. They do not compete against each other that okay, Russia is selling at $100 per barrel, let UAE will sell at $80 per barrel or some other will sell at $60 per barrel. No, there is no competition. They all are in agreement with each other that they are going to sell at a certain price and output will be predetermined. That this is the output they are going to produce. They say that even though the prices are falling, we are not going to reduce the supply. That means we are going to flood the market with more supply, more oil, even though the prices are following. Why? In order to maintain their market share. You see, if there is a price decline and if they start reducing their output in order to make up their profits, then what will happen? Some other company, for example, US shell companies, they will pitch it and they will erode their market share. So OPEC countries, these oil producing and exporting countries, they have decided that even though the prices are falling, they are not going to reduce their prices. Number fourth reason is global economic wars, both trade wars and physical wars. The US and China trade war, the US and the world trade war, Russia-Ukraine war, Israel-Palestine war, India-Pakistan on the verge of war, so much high tensions. What does all these do? They decrease the demand for the product and also disrupt the supply lines. And hence, there is always a fear that there will be less demand and thus the prices are reduced. Now we come to the second part of our discussion. Why, even if there is fall in prices in the international commodity market, why the petrol prices are not reduced in the domestic market? In order to understand that, we need to understand how is the costing for the Brent or crude are done. See, India, do you think India gets the Brent at $60 per barrel because it is trading at such rate in the international market? Well, no. The reason is that India does not buy only Brent, it buys a basket of other commodities of the crude variety, for example sour, the other crude, and sweet, which is the Brent. That is how it is termed in the international market. Now, the price that is quoted is for the basket of the entire commodities and not specifically Brent. So first is that distinction. Now, you do not use that oil in a crude form. You have to refine it. You have to make it, process it so that it becomes usable for your industrial use and your vehicle use. So refining is another cost. So they have to put large factories and refine these. Then third is their transportation to different parts of India. Fourth is their marketing cost. Fifth is their own margins. Sixth is dealers' commission, which they have to provide it to dealers. And last are taxes. Out of all these six costs, the only taxes constitute 50% of the cost of the crude or the fuel that is quoted in our market. So if petrol is 100 rupees per litre, 50 rupees is for the taxes that you pay to the government. What are the taxes that are applicable on the fuel? Number one is excise duty. Now, excise duty is a central government tax. Central government applies this tax and it goes to the central bank's kitty and it uses it for own infrastructure and other development projects. Number two, which is currently 19.90 per litre for petrol and 10 rupees per diesel, just to mention. Second is VAT. Now, VAT is state specific duty. Each state has its own VAT rate and they apply it on this petroleum products over and above the excise duty. Now, it's a kind of double taxation. Now, why I say double taxation, let me try to explain it. Let's suppose the crude price, the refining, transportation, margin, dealer commission, everything comes out to 100 rupees. On top of it, 20 rupees is applied as excise duty. Okay, fine, the central government tax. Now, what does that come to? 120 rupees. Now, VAT is not applied on 100 minus excise duty. It is applied on 120, which is including excise duty. So, we are getting taxed on tax. Already we have paid an excise duty of 20 rupees and over and above that we are paying 10 rupees on 120. If excise duty was reduced, maybe the tax has come to some like 7 rupees or 8 rupees VAT, but because of that the taxation is increased. This is known as double taxation, tax on tax. So that is the reason that taxation constitutes majority of the price of the fuel price. Now, why do you think government, if the price is falling in the international market, the government is increasing the duty? That happened in April. When the prices fell in the early April, the government increased the excise duty by 2 rupees on petrol and diesel simultaneously. Now, why is it that they are not giving relief to us? 3 reasons I want to quote. Number one, when there is increase in the price, for example, in the year 2022-2023, when the Brent passed $100 per barrel in the international commodities market, then the government did not pass on that price rise to us. So these are oil exporting companies, oil importing companies like HP, BPCL, Indian Petroleum, Hindustan Petroleum. They suffered huge losses. Now when the prices are down, they are not going to pass on the benefit to the customers, to the consumers. Why? Because they have to make good the losses they have incurred in the past. First reason. Second reason, the oil, India is heavily dependent on oil. Our entire requirement of the oil, 80% of which is fulfilled by the imports. We have to import that oil. Now, we cannot leave everything to chance. What if in future when we require in terms of emergency, natural calamities, wars, if we require huge amount of oil on for our country, for our development, and due to certain reasons the transportation is limited or for any other reason we are not getting that oil. So we have to build a reservoir, a lot of reservoir, big reservoir. So we have already built 2 reservoirs in Visakhapatnam and one in Karnataka, and we are building another 2. Currently we have 5.53 MMT, million metric tons of capacity, in which we can reserve the oil for our emergency use. We're also in talking terms with Aramco, the biggest Saudi supplier, in order to build the storage structure in India. So this is the second reason the government does not decrease the price. Now, third reason which I see the prices are not declining is because the government needs money. It needs money to fulfill its kitty. It needs money to generate income for capital development projects. So in case the prices are declined, it does not pass on the benefit to the consumer. So consumer ends up paying the same amount, but the excise duty, the extra taxes that the government charges, that goes into the government's kitty. What other factors determine the prices in our country? Well, first is subsidy and second is forex. Let's try to understand one by one. You see, LPG subsidy of 300 rupees per cylinder cost us a huge amount. This time there is still 30,000 crores of money that is still to be paid to these companies in order to make good them the amount that they provide for the subsidies. You see, the LPG cylinder that we use in our kitchen cost us somewhere around 800, right? And 300 is a subsidy that is given to the economically weaker sections people. That 500 rupees is for the common person. That is the price that we pay for the LPG cylinders. Now these 300 rupees subsidy, where do you think the government will get the money to provide this subsidy? It is getting that subsidy from the increase in prices that the government is taking through additional taxes or not passing on the benefit of the reduced prices. You see, my dear friend, there is nothing free in this country or anywhere in the world. There are no free lunches. If anything is free, if anything is subsidized, either you are paying through another way or somebody else is paying for the same. But nothing is free in this world. So anybody who's got subsidy, free, always remember, somewhere or the other, it is getting from your pocket only. And last we come to foreign exchange. You see, we have to buy the crude in dollars. So in order to buy in dollars, we have to shell out rupee. Now, how does that work? Let me give you a brief example for that. In case the dollar is at, let's suppose, 80 rupees. So $1 is equals to 80 rupees. So in order I need to buy $1, I need to shell out 80 rupees. I need to go to bank. I'll give them 80 rupees. I'll get the dollar and I can make the purchase through in dollars. But what if the dollar gets stronger and rupee gets weaker? It moves to 85. Now, in order to get $1, I have to shell out 85 rupees, 5 rupees extra for getting the same dollar. Now, the crude is at $60, $100, whatever. But my currency is fluctuating. It is increasing. Then I have to shell out more. So, my crude becomes expensive. If my currency, if rupee is appreciating, then that means I have to shell out less. So, foreign currency fluctuation and subsidy also determine the price of the crude. So now we know that why does our petrol and diesel prices did not get reduced even though the market prices are declining. But is it the same for the airline ATF also? The airline fuels, turbine fuels? Well, no. See, airline turbine fuels are linked to market completely independent since 2001. So if there is a fall in international prices, the airline prices automatically get decreased. You see, the fuel cost forms almost 40 to 45% of the airline's expenses. Now, any reduction in the fuel cost helps the airline to make up their past losses or reducing your air ticket cost. All in all, benefit for the air travelers, but it is not such a good situation for the road travelers who use petrol diesel vehicles. I hope you learned something new in this video. Comment me below your thoughts and subscribe my channel, hit the bell icon. Stay tuned for more such videos and have a good day. Thank you.